Okay team, this week's guest on She's Got Game is the professional golfer Annabell Fuller. We are talking about the reality of life on tour, self-funding even in professional sport, and the perception of golf of being an old man's game and how Annabell is trying to change that. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I hope you enjoy. Annabell Fuller, welcome to She's Got Game.
Thank you for having me. Hello.
Thank you for joining me. When you're not on the golf course, what's your go-to way to switch off?
Probably going to the gym.
I love that. So for those who don't know, you've just been in Australia doing high rocks, right?
Yes.
How long have you been doing this for?
Only this year, but before I did CrossFit for a really long time. So my kind of heart is with CrossFit, but I've just recently started in the high rocks world.
How have you found that transition?
Definitely difficult because it's a lot of running. And I like running, but maybe not that far.
Do you feel like that kind of training has helped benefit your golfing?
I think like mentally, yeah. I think kind of I like doing like hard stuff, and I think having the mindset of if I can achieve those stuff and push myself through hard moments and that, like golf, I can push myself through hard moments, and I think it's finding different ways to kind of challenge yourself. Yeah,
I mean, we were just talking about it now, but you have put out some serious times with high rocks as well. Do you feel like everything you've done with golf has helped you step into other sports as well with that mindset piece?
Probably, yeah. I think just kind of to know that the harder you work, the better you get. And I think just if you want to achieve something, you just put a little bit more work in. And then to get results is obviously quite rewarding. So then you keep motivated.
Yeah. Do you think we're going to see you at Worlds one day?
Maybe, we'll see.
That's the goal. So on the golf course and at Worlds, why not? Do you have a favourite course you've played on so far?
So I played Augusta, which was unbelievable. But I actually played this little golf course in Zurich. I played it was like the year of COVID. I went with my family, and I just remember the view was unbelievable. And I remember the whole time I was playing this golf course, I couldn't get over the view. And I think golf courses like that are always really special.
Yeah. When was Augusta?
So I played it a couple years. The first year was 2018.
Okay, and for people who don't know, that is an iconic course to play, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
What is it about it that it makes it so special?
I think you see it on TV and it looks unbelievable. And all the history and the tournaments, obviously the Masters every year, you watch on TV and it's like you kind of live the moment. And then when you get there, you've kind of watched it so many years and it's literally like better than it looks on TV. The grass is perfect, the greens are perfect, the clubhouse is obviously iconic, then the drive up as well. It's just like a golfer's dream, basically.
And from having watched it so much on TV, I can imagine, did you feel like you really knew the course before you got there?
Like I thought I did, and then I got there and it's completely different. Like the hills and everything on that golf course looked nothing like it does on TV.
I was going to say, was there anything that caught you off guard and you're like, I was not expecting that to be the way that it was?
Yeah, it was definitely a lot hillier than I thought.
Yeah, I'd love to go. My boyfriend's stepdad, that would be his absolute dream to go and just to watch there, let alone play there. What's something people would be surprised to learn about you off of the course?
I think I'm like quite boring. Like I like doing lots and I'm super energetic all the time, but then I like doing the same thing. And I think like people think that maybe I'm like, because I'm quite loud and I like doing stuff, that I'd be kind of up for anything, and I am for most things. But usually it's the same things.
I love that. I was talking to someone when I was just away that asked about New Year's plans. They're like, what are you doing? And I was like, I will be in bed by 9 p.m. I am that person that I have my routines. Nothing's going to change. It's 9 p.m. and feel fresh for New Year's Day. So take us back to the beginning. How did golf first come into your life?
So my older sister played, and she was an unbelievable junior. Like from the age of 5 years old, she was the best. So kind of naturally, I just kind of went with her when she went to practice, when she went to play. And then as she got better and better and she started playing more and more events, my dad would just sign me up and I play too. I was kind of away with the fairies when I was younger, so I kind of just did it mindlessly. And then just because I think I did it for so long, the time I got to about 11, 12, I was actually getting quite good despite the fact that I kind of didn't really concentrate. And then it kind of started piecing together like alongside other sports. And then I just kept doing it.
Yeah. How did you narrow it down to golf? If you were playing other sports, what was it about golf that made you feel like that was a sport you wanted to invest more time into?
Truthfully, I just got better at it than other sports.
Okay.
Like it wasn't anything that kind of jumped out to me. Like I'm naturally just really competitive and I like winning.
Yeah.
And I did better. So because I could feel like there was more potential, and then with my sister doing it more, I think it kind of just naturally led that way.
Were there any people or moments that inspired you early on?
Probably seeing my sister, to be honest. I mean, I know that's kind of an easy thing to say, but like seeing her success and where that could bring her, obviously I could kind of follow in her footsteps. And I think to kind of see her get loads of opportunities, like I wanted them as well.
Does she still play now?
No, not really.
No, so you've kind of taken the baton and you've...
Yeah, she had a couple like health problems and it was just too difficult for her to get back into it. But she still loves it and loves the game and, you know, is still involved in it. So
Does she get to come and watch you play?
Sometimes, yeah.
I love that. Was there a specific moment where you realised that you were really good at it? I know you said at about 11, it became apparent that this was something you were great at. But do you remember having a moment where you were like, okay, this is something that I want to pursue?
I think so. So I was in the England team, but it's like one of those things I kind of, because I did it, it felt normal. And then I remember playing this one tournament called the Henry Cooper. I must have been about 13. And I think I won that tournament by like 12 shots or something like, and I thought to myself after, like, oh, damn, okay, I can do this. And I think that kind of having that like win, it was like my first big tournament that I'd won. And I was like, I quite like this feeling.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to keep doing this.
Yeah, that feeling of winning. So for people who don't know too much about golf, you were saying there that you won by 12 shots. What would be a kind of your average winning? When you go and play normally, people win by X amount of shots. How many would that be?
Probably like one.
Okay.
One or two. It can vary, obviously. Like some people win in a playoff, so they've tied. And then some people can win by 5 or 6 shots, just depending, like if it's their week and it's just gone unbelievably well. But usually you don't have big win margins.
Okay. So 12 is crazy. 12 is crazy. What do you feel like playing sport at such a young age gave you? We touched a bit on how golf has helped you mentally later on and with, you know, dabbling with high rocks. But what do you feel like it gave you at that point in your life where you were quite young?
So it gave me the opportunity to go to America. And I think that for me was kind of life-changing. So I went initially when I was 16 and I did my last 2 years of like high school, kind of secondary school there. And then I went on to do university. And kind of going out there, I was quite shy. Like I was like a proper mummy's girl, didn't like to leave my mum's side. And I wasn't very independent. And I think then moving out there, I kind of slowly learned how to like live by myself, kind of plan my own days, like learn how to practice properly. And I think obviously that helped me grow up, I guess. So I think alongside getting better at golf while I was there, it gave me an opportunity to meet more people and then develop as a person, I guess.
How did that come about, that moving to the US?
So I was lucky enough that my dad knew someone at the IMG Academy and they were looking to kind of give opportunities to golfers, like more in Europe, to kind of grow their brand. And it just kind of happened at the right time that I started playing good when I was 16. They were looking for, I guess, someone like me. And then I went there and visited and I was like, okay, this is pretty awesome.
This is for me. How does it differ to playing in Europe or in the UK itself?
I think it's kind of everything that everyone knows about America. It's bigger. There's more space. There's more opportunities. And there's just more people. So kind of all of those collectively, it just makes, there's more people to play golf with. The practice facilities are better. There's more golf courses, more competition. So I guess like there's just more opportunities.
Yeah. How did you find that transition? Because I can imagine here, like you said, you had your home comforts. Did you feel like when they were taken away from you that improved your game, or initially did it go backwards a little bit, and then when you developed more independence, it then pushed your game forwards?
I think I was actually quite lucky that the first couple months I found a really like nice group of friends, so I didn't struggle too much. And then Christmas came along really quickly. There was a lot to do at my school. And then I think when I went home, I kind of realised, oh, like it's nice being at home again. And then, but I think at that point, I was kind of used to being alone, that when I went back to school, I then played pretty good that summer. And that then helped as well because I was playing well. I saw the benefits of it straight away, which I think then helped to motivate me to keep going, if that makes sense. Like, I think I was quite lucky in that sense, because I remember like the first night when I went there, like my parents and I have like a funny story that like I had like a little bit of a meltdown, and I was like, you guys can't leave me, I don't want to go by myself. And then we never spoke about it again.
Did you not?
And it was like a hidden thing that I was like proper like nervous about going, and then I went, and then we never spoke, that I cried before going.
How did that shift come about then? What was it that changed it from being, please don't leave me, I don't want to be here by myself, to actually I'm now thriving in this environment?
I think just the setup of the school. Like I always loved to be like as productive as possible, and pretty much there you were kind of on the go from 7:30 in the morning to 7 p.m. at night, and there wasn't really any time to kind of think, oh, I'm by myself or I'm lonely or whatever. You would just kind of go. And then they would like on the weekends we'd go to golf tournaments, or I'd hang out with my friends, and it kind of, the weeks just kind of flew by essentially.
Yeah, I was talking to someone earlier about how packed kids' days are, like school aside, but then I was actually referring to it with music practice. Before school, I would have done half an hour of one instrument, half an hour of another. I didn't play professional sport. I then went to school, and then I go to at least one sports club after school. And you were saying, you know, your day starts at 7:30 and ends at 7 p.m. That is longer than most adults' working days. What did your schedule look like when you were out in the States, just to give people some idea of how intense that was?
So at my first school I went to, so we had like morning or afternoon school. So I did morning golf and afternoon school. So we usually go to the gym at like 7:30 to 8:30. And then we start practice from like just before 9 till I think it was like 12ish, 12:30. Go quickly have lunch, start school at 1:30. That finished at 5:30. And then some of the boys used to say, oh, let's go do like short game practice, whatever, and extra stuff. So we'd go do some extra chipping, putting, whatever, until we all got hungry. And then we'd head over, have dinner, go back, shower, and then everyone was knackered, so we went to sleep, and then same thing the next day.
Do it all again. Did you notice the disparity between boys and girls golf at that age, or is that something that, I don't even know if you have realised it or felt it or noticed it, but from my perception of it, it tends to be men's golf gets a lot of media coverage, and perhaps the sponsorship opportunities are greater. Mm-hmm. Did you feel that when you were younger and you were at school and college?
To be honest, I didn't really start noticing it until I went to college. I think I noticed that there was a lot more boys. It was always kind of the girls, and then a tiny 3 or 4 of us, and then like 30 boys. But I think in a way that kind of helped me when I did go to school, because they kind of mess about, and I think sometimes it's good to have that. Like I'm quite kind of routine, like following things the exact same way. I like doing things like by the book, follow everything I'm meant to do. And then obviously boys are a little bit more like, oh, let's go hit this chip from the trees and whatever. So I think kind of make it a bit more fun that way as well. So it kept it kind of serious, but then also lighthearted for me. But then I think when I went to college, you kind of notice that the boys get kind of a little bit more help. They kind of, there's more of them. When they do well, it's a bigger thing, and they're kind of more expected to do well almost.
How did you handle that?
I think you just kind of get used to it. Like you kind of expect, you know what it's kind of like you don't kind of expect to get the extra benefits, and they do. But then, you know, like if you play golf with them and you beat them, like it feels, I think, extra good.
Yeah. Do you feel like it has been disadvantageous? Because like you're saying there, in a way it can be an extra motivator, and in other ways actually was opportunistic because there were less of you. So in a sense there were less distractions when there were less females playing. Do you feel like it has been beneficial? Do you feel like it has prevented women from perhaps being able to go as far with their game? Or do you feel like it's just something, like you said, that you've accepted and actually it doesn't swing the pendulum one way too much or the other?
I do think it's kind of, I would like to see girls have more opportunities in golf when they're younger, I think, because it is kind of, I think, similar to like football, because it's kind of given to boys to go try a little bit more often. That's how they kind of have these more opportunities to go out and do it. And I think if there was a couple more like girls clubs doing it, you might see more girls seeing that kind of career opportunity from it, because like there is a career opportunity, like, and then if you don't even want to do golf, going to America and playing on a scholarship, like it puts you out there and it gives you different opportunities for life, whether it's going to be golf or it's going to be something else. And I think it would be nice to kind of, not that it kind of affected me too much, like I was quite fortunate with all the opportunities I got, but then again, like I think growing the game is kind of, it would be nice to see more girls into it.
Yeah. Have you felt that there has been a shift with more eyes on women's golf these days and more girls getting into it? Or what can we do to help that momentum really start building?
I mean, definitely over the previous couple of years, they've done a lot more women's clinics and trying to like grow the game. But I do think either like maybe doing a bit more like mixed stuff where it's kind of shown to people that, okay, women do play golf and we're not just like, you know, hitting a little ball around, like that we are kind of like athletes as well. We do train and we do practice and we do work hard in like maybe a different way, obviously, to a kind of Olympic runner, but like it's a different style of training and working hard. And I think it's like to kind of promote that, and that it can also be a social fun game, not just to kind of be serious. It'd be, I think people just don't really know.
Yeah, I was talking about golf with someone the other day and they were saying how impressed they were by women's golf, because the power that women can produce, that actually people don't always appreciate or understand just how far you've just hit that ball, but also the fact that naturally women have a little bit less power than men. So the skill and the accuracy that has to get developed, in a sense, perhaps even more so than the guys, because you can't just muscle your way around a course. Are there any other things that you wish people knew more about women's golf?
I think kind of, I would say like the mental challenges that come alongside of it. Like obviously people, I think it's a stereotype that like golf makes you a bit crazy, kind of, that like everyone gets like really mad on the golf course or like really pissed off because it's not going their way. And like typically, obviously, I find it quite funny actually when I play with guys from my golf club and they're just like playing for fun and they get so frustrated on the golf course. I'm like, look, everyone hits bad shots. Like you've got to accept that not everything's going to go your way. And I think almost like it kind of like runs into life, that it's like not everything goes your way, but it's okay. And I think kind of the like, I quite like that idea of it. Like you're never going to be perfect, but it's like being happy about your perfects and accepting the mistakes or the bad shots or the bad times. So I think kind of that aspect of it is kind of overlooked. And I think the enjoyment aspect of it then is not always there.
Yeah, someone once said to me, they were like, you're not patient enough for golf, like you shouldn't take that up. And I was like, that's exactly why I should do it, because it would probably make me even more patient.
I'm the least patient person. Like I like things being done and doing it quickly, but with golf I guess it's I almost wouldn't describe it as being patient. I think it's being accepting. Like I think the quicker you can move on from a bad shot, the better. So the quicker you move on from, just like anything in life, I suppose, something that doesn't go your way, you just focus on what's coming ahead rather than behind you.
Yeah, I love that. That's a really good way of looking at it, because I feel like a lot of people are reluctant to take up golf because they think it requires this patience. But actually that is such a good life skill and such a good way of, maybe I need to start golf, guys. Maybe this is going to be the next thing. How did you experience being a young girl in a sport that is often seen as quite traditional?
I think kind of it was hard to explain to my friends. I think I remember that was my main thing, where like I got different opportunities and instead of being happy about it, I was sometimes almost like embarrassed They're like, I was going away on a trip for golf. You know, I missed school because of golf, but I'm playing an old man sport. Like, I kind of didn't always want to say that I'm going away. And then my friends kind of became more understanding, then thought it was cool. And then I was like, oh yeah, I'm going away for golf.
Yeah.
So as soon as that switch kind of happened, it was fine. But I think initially, like, oh yeah, my grandpa does that as well. And I was like, oh yeah, no, I'm not going away for golf.
Well, that is the thing, isn't it? We were talking before we started recording, and one of the first things I said is that both of my grandparents used to play, or still do play. My grandpa played up until, honestly, he was about 92. He was still going, but I actually think of golf as quite trendy now. And that is a really cool thing, and that a lot of people do. I mean, the amount of people you hear working in the city that go for these meetings, and their meetings are playing a round of golf. I'm like, I want meetings like that. Maybe I need to do it just to get into that. So I feel like how I perceive golf now is very different to how I used to. But do you feel like that has become a general consensus where golf is seen as less of an old man sport these days and is more for everyone?
Yeah, I think it's definitely improving. Like, a lot of my friends, even from the gym, are like, oh yeah, let's go to the driving range. And I'm like, oh my God, you guys want to come play golf?
Yeah.
But like, I think what's nice about it is if you do pick it up when you're younger, it is easier to do it when you get older. And I think because it's such a nice social sport, you go outside, even if like you play 9 holes, it's 2 hours, you're going for a walk, you can chat to the people you're playing with, and I can play with someone who's 60, who's 16, who's 80.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be the same level to play together.
Yeah.
And I think that's what kind of makes it nice about it as well. And then you can play it for fun, you can play it competitively, and you can do it with other people.
So when it comes to handling expectations, do you now feel pressure to live up to them because you are so good? And did you feel that pressure when you were younger and at amateur and junior level as well?
I think anyone is the same thing, like with nerves. Like, anyone would be lying if they say, no, I never feel nerves. No, I never feel expectations. Obviously, you set in the back of your head a goal for yourself. I don't turn up to a tournament and think, you know what? If I come 20th this week, I'm going to be happy. Because obviously, the ultimate goal is to win. Whether it's in a really strong field, a really weak field, like, the goal is to be better than everyone. And I think kind of if you don't do that and you do worse than you even think you could do, obviously it's disappointing. And I think kind of taking from week to week, it can be difficult. And I think even when I was younger, you start having one good event and you start trending. And because golf is so up and down, I think the extremities of that expectation are probably higher than other sports, because you can go 1 week super good, the next week complete opposite, and there's no actual reason to it.
No, how do you stay grounded when the results do tend to fluctuate so much?
I think remembering that it's just a game, and that like I'm big on like controlling the controllables. I think like I've always been very like process orientated, which I think is quite useful in golf. I personally, like I was actually doing yesterday, kind of goal setting, and I was saying I prefer to goal set my processes. So like I'll set a practice goal or something I want to achieve in my preparation or how I practice for a tournament. And I think if you don't make too many goals about the results, because in theory you can't control those results. Yeah, in the back of your head you probably have those goals, but for me I like having achievable goals, if that makes sense.
Did you used to attach your identity to the results? Because it sounds like you don't do that now because you focus more on the process. But was that something that you had to learn?
I definitely think there was an element of it, but I've got a lot better at that. And I think kind of seeing other people get quite affected by their results definitely helped me to kind of notice that in myself, to not do that. Because I think like I used to have, so with my dog, my favourite thing was when I got home, whether I played good or whether I played bad, he'd have no idea. And I think kind of that concept of, you know what, I'm going to be that person. And I try to like, obviously it's difficult. Like I'm not saying every single time I can do this, but if I get off the golf course and I see someone, I want to try and be able to speak to them in the same way, whether I've had the best round of my life or the worst round of my life. And if I can almost hold myself to that standard, then like I'll probably feel better by the end of the day for it as well.
I love that. I feel like that is a really good rule to have. It's like how, and then I also love that the dog analogy as well of, you know, they don't know and I don't want to treat them any differently. It's had nothing to do with them how well I played. I think that's really cool because I can imagine, I mean, I do it and I'm not a professional athlete. If I've run really well or lifted really well, I'm like, oh, I feel great about that. And then if I have a day where it's a bit off, it can impact how you feel about
100%.
yourself, which could then impact your performance the next time you go and play. Do you have any other rituals or mindset, I guess rituals again, that you bring in that help you park, like you said, the last thing you've done and just focus on the next?
Good question. I think I'm quite a big planner. Like I like having plans. I like knowing what I'm doing. And I think kind of focusing on that is always quite useful as well. Like, okay, one thing didn't work. There's no point stressing about it. It's happened. You can't change it. I used to like get so one thing I have improved probably more than anything else, and I used to like laugh about it with my college coaches. If my plan didn't go to plan, it would stress me out. What am I going to do? Like, I didn't get to do this, but I can't change that now. And I think I see it a lot with other like people I'm around. They're so worried about what's happened that they forget that they can't change it. Like, and I think like there's no point being upset about what happened yesterday. Yeah, obviously I'm human. I'm going to still have like emotions about it and it will probably upset me still. But the quicker I can move on to, okay, what's the next thing I can do? Like, okay, today wasn't good. That sucked. I can be sad about it for an hour. I'll buy myself a chocolate bar and ice cream. Have a little bit of a sulk and then go, okay, tomorrow, what am I going to do? And I think to kind of keep, it's not easy. Like, I'm not saying, like, sometimes you be in a bit of a slump and life's hard, like it's not easy, but kind of as long as you stay, what's tomorrow? How can I make tomorrow better? Okay, today didn't work. What can I learn from that? And I'm just always switching on to what's happening in the future helps.
Yeah, I'm going to start doing that. I really, really like this. So you are one of very few women to have played in 3 Curtis Cups. Before we get into that, can you explain to our listeners what the Curtis Cup is?
So it's a tournament for amateurs, so it's before you turn pro, and it's Great Britain and Ireland, and we play against America. So it's kind of like an opportunity where you play 2 years and you kind of get your rankings, you have results in tournaments, and I can't exactly remember the selection process, but there's a small selection process for 8 of us to get into this team, and it happens every 2 years, and we go to these unbelievable places and play against America.
What did it mean to you at the time when you got selected for the first one?
I think with the first one, I was kind of borderline whether I was going to get in or not. I'd played really well up to that point, but I was quite young and there was a lot of good golfers. And I think kind of it was half a surprise and half like I was working towards it. So I think just the opportunity felt incredible.
How old were you when you did the first one?
I think I had just turned 16.
Okay, wow. How did you handle that pressure at that age of like knowing that you were going and representing Great Britain and Ireland in this huge tournament? How did that feel?
I honestly don't really remember. I remember being really nervous, and I remember that first tee shot, and it was like obviously the tee box is always square, so a load of people kind of around that first tee box, and I thought to myself like, please just hit the fairway, please just hit the fairway. I think. And then like I played with one of the first matches with Alice Hewson, who plays on LET now with me, and she's a couple years older than me, and I think she kind of helped me stay a bit calmer because she was all calm, so I was like, okay, I'm going to be calm and serious too. So I think that kind of helped as well.
Yeah. And then on reflection, having played in 3, are you aware of how impressive that is looking back?
I think it's kind of just, now it's like a thing I did, like a memory. Like I'm not like, oh my God, I played in 3. Like it was just 3 cool things I did, like 3 really awesome weeks and 3 really cool opportunities that I had. And I think I'm more grateful for it now because I was on a team with like really fun girls. And I remember like we had little memories from each of them. And I think just kind of taking that with me is really nice.
Yeah. Were there any moments that you already said that one of your teammates helped you become a bit more serious and focused with it, but were there any moments from any 3 of those that really shaped how you view yourself as an athlete?
I think probably in the second one we played in Wales, I remember just kind of thinking that, and that like on the last couple holes when we were coming in, like being kind of that team atmosphere, because I do like team events too, thinking like, for me, I've always had the mindset that I want to be the best because I'm better than people, not because other people have done badly. And I think sometimes it's nice to be in those situations to think, okay, you know, I'm going to work with people to be the best that we can be. And if that happens to be that I'm now going to be the best from it, see, great. That's great. But I like working with other people to achieve goals. I think for me, that kind of changed my mindset on that.
Yeah, I mean, because golf is, well, people look at it as a very individual sport. I mean, you've got your caddy, and in some situations you have your teammates as well. Do you prefer playing in that team environment, or do you prefer playing when it's just you?
I think it does depend, because there's different types of team environments. Like that, obviously, everyone gets a bit more like riled up, and there is a lot more teamy to it. And I think at times that can be nice, but then when you are playing like money or it's your career, it's also then nice to know that you're the reason it's gone wrong, if that makes sense.
Yeah, all right, depending.
All right, correct. Like it's all on you, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, you had so much success with your amateur career, and then you turned pro, and you're looking back at the amateur. There's a lot of highlights to be seen, but what were some of the really difficult moments for you during that period?
I think I had a little actually, the first one was in college. I can remember, I won my first college event, and I went to the gym in the evening, and I dropped the weight bench on my finger and broke it.
Oh.
And I just remember thinking, like, my life is over.
Yeah.
It's like, it's my finger, but my life is over. Like, I can't. And I remember going and I tried to hit a golf ball because I was so desperate to hit it the next day. And the pain through my hand was, because obviously, like, it's only a finger and it didn't hurt during the time when, like, the swelling had went down. But as soon as I hit a golf ball, the vibration, it was so painful. And I just remember thinking, what have I done? Like, I've ruined my life. And I think for me, I actually found it really hard to take 6 weeks off to let it heal. Because I think I'll get more motivated when I do play well. Like, I want to keep playing well. So for me to kind of take a seat back and go, okay, I actually need to like recover, it was kind of like a learning curve. And then my next one, I like, when it starts not going your way, I think it's quite difficult if you have been going well for a long time. And I think learning how to get over that, almost like it shapes your identity, like people expect you to do well and then you continuously don't, it's quite difficult. Because then people are like, oh, like, what happened? And they think it's funny, and you're like, oh, yeah, like, I'm playing bad. Like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah. How do you pull yourself out of that?
I think making sure that you have your life outside. Like, I was really fortunate in America. I had a couple really close friends, and my best friend from school, she's still my best friend now. And, like, I speak to her all the time. And when I speak to her, little, like, do I ever mention golf. And I'm so grateful for her, because any time I've played golf, she's like, okay, you know, that's awesome. You're good at golf. Okay, let's go do something else. You know, like, she's really supportive of my golf and the way I practice. But then she's very kind of cute, like, knows me well enough to know when to speak about golf and when to not.
So when you're coming off the back of a streak that hasn't really been going your way, and perhaps people start to underestimate you, how do you respond to that?
I think for me personally, I know some people do get riled on, I want to prove people wrong. And don't get me wrong, I do as well. Like, you want that element. I think it's good. It's that kind of competitive side. But I think kind of staying with the, I'm going to do what I can to improve, and I've just got to wait for the results and be patient. Because you can want it really badly. And, like, I've never not wanted to play well. Like, obviously you always want to play well. And I think just kind of being patient and not slacking on certain things just because it's not going well.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So when you were in the States, I can imagine that a lot of this stuff you had to learn by yourself because you didn't have your best friend there. Yes, she was on the phone. You didn't have your family there. Sure, they're on the end of the phone, but they're not there with you. Did you have a team around you at that really pivotal point that helped you develop all of this mindset shift? Because it sounds like your mindset is in such a good place with it. Was there anyone that was almost like a mentor figure to you during that time that you could lean on in person to help you take that next step with your golf?
I think I was quite fortunate with my college coaches. I had a really good relationship with the head coach. So Emily Glazer, she was kind of like a mum to me out there, and she's very similar. Like, she's not super in your face, kind of really loud, but she's very like process orientated as well, and really into kind of taking a step at a time. And she played on tour as well. So I think kind of learning from her. And then my other coach, Janice, she was like kind of very bubbly all the time, which I think really helped me in college, because when I was having a bad day, she was like, okay, come on, like nice to see you, give me a big hug. And I was like, okay, everything's better now. And I think that really, especially when I first went and I was kind of like missing my mom, if I was having a bad day, they kind of filled in the gaps a little bit. So I was really lucky with that.
Did you choose your college based on the coaches? What was it about that particular college that made you want to go there?
See, I always tell this story because it's quite funny. So I went on an official visit to a different college in Florida, and my parents came with me. And on the way up from my school, we passed Florida, which is where I ended up going, and we just did a day visit. And I remember saying to my mum when we got into the car, oh my God, this place is amazing. Like, if every school is going to be like this, I'm going to have a really hard time deciding where to go. And my mum was like, yeah, it's really cool. And I was like, the coaches are cool, the community is cool, the school is awesome, like they set up the golf course, everything. And then I went up to this next school in Florida and I was like, yeah, I bloody hate this place, like not going here. And I just remember that was like a real eye-opener to me. And then I went and visited a couple other schools, but nothing gave me that feeling of when I went to Florida. And I just felt at home there, and like really almost like, it sounds a bit cliche, but I was loved straight away. And I think I felt wanted. And for me, that was like a big kind of telltale sign that that was going to be my place. And I think that's as soon as I went there, I felt like that. So
yeah, well, that's such a huge part for athletes, is getting picked for a team. Even if it's an individual sport, you have to get picked, and in a way that is being made to feel wanted. So, and we all want that feeling. We all want to feel wanted, but it's something that's not always spoken about that much. Were there any points where you felt like you wanted to feel wanted, but you weren't getting picked in the way that you wanted to? And how did you have that motivation to keep pushing through until you did get picked for certain things?
Yeah, I think that's where I would say I was quite lucky with my coach. She always had a great way of phrasing things. Like, she was very good with her communication. And I think always saying, like, even if I wasn't playing that great, she wanted to help me to be, she said, not just a person like to play well on her team, but to set me up to play well in the future. And I think kind of almost having that feeling that she cared about me as a person and how my life is going to look after university when it, in theory, doesn't benefit her anymore, like that meant a lot to me. And I think kind of rolling over like with what you said, like everyone does want to feel wanted. I think it's almost like a human kind of feeling, like in whether you're in a relationship or in a sport or in a team, you want to feel like you want to be there and you deserve to be there rather than anything else. And I think for me it was like learning about like I deserve to be playing on a good tournament or whatever. I think kind of sometimes you don't feel like that, you feel out of place, but kind of learning that mentality is quite good.
Yeah. So when you're at college, the academic side of things is a little bit more on you, that you don't necessarily have to go to the classes or the lectures, but it's up to you whether you do. How did you balance that elite sport and that academic period of your life?
I mean, I'm going to be that like kind of nerdy person. I always quite like school. I'd never struggled to I didn't not enjoy classes. Like, I like learning. So I think it was slightly easier for me than maybe some people who like hate school. But I think it was kind of I really wanted to learn something sciencey. Like, I wanted to do something mathsy, sciencey, kind of within like physiology and how the body works, and go into kind of like medical stuff. And then I had to kind of accept that, look, I can't do that properly alongside golf. I remember I said to my like academic advisor, I said, well, what if I just try? And she was like, okay, yeah, you can do one class, try. I did it for like 3 weeks and I was like, okay, you're right. There was like 8 hours of lectures in the first week, and then I went to a tournament the following week, missed 2 classes, so I had catch up of like 6 hours of lectures, and then you had to study for the exams, and I was like, I'm not gonna be able to do this. Like, I don't have the time.
Yeah.
So I think kind of accepting that I couldn't do everything. It was quite difficult. Like, I'd like to do everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think just kind of, I ended up doing English, which like I really enjoyed. I love reading, but it was kind of the best thing for me to do, and I could do while I travelled. I could read when we were on the plane. I could write essays when we were in the car going to a tournament. So it was like finding the right thing to do alongside.
How did it feel having to give up something that you were really interested in studying and learning for something that then fit the lifestyle that you were having to live at the time?
I mean, it's a tough one, because obviously if golf didn't pay off or it wasn't very successful, I would have kind of been gutted I didn't do it. But then equally, I always said to the mindset, you know what, I'm going to give myself, I have 4 years in college. I'm still going to finish with a degree. I'm still going to come out smarter. But I also want to come out a better golfer. Like, I'm not on the other side of the world to just go to school. If I was, like, I could have went in England to university. And then I thought to myself as well, you know what, later in life, if I'm still really interested in that, I can go back to school. Like, I always have that option to go back, do an online course. And I think kind of having that in the back of my head was like, okay, yeah, I'll do that.
Looking back, how important do you think that chapter of your life was at preparing you for your professional career?
Oh, I think it was probably like one of the most pivotal moments for me. Like I said, when I first went, I was very much a homey girl. I loved doing everything with my mum. And then I kind of like learned to live alone. And then I was quite lucky, actually, I think, that I went to like the high school, like boarding school, before I went to college, because it's like a massive gap, like a change, I guess, as well, because you're kind of living with a group of people look after you, and you go to college and you're an adult, so you live by yourself. There's no one coming and checking that you're in your room at night. There's like no rules that are like proper strict, obviously, with your coaches. Like, it's all down to you. And I think kind of learning that in a fairly structured environment still kind of sets you up for when you start going and working, you start living a job, like having a job, having kind of requirements that you need to fulfill. So for me, like, that was really useful.
Yeah. So was that transition from college into going pro quite smooth for you, or what were some of the biggest shocks that you found?
Yeah, I think it was definitely easier for me. Like, if I had went from being at home, I think the travelling alone aspect would have been quite difficult. I think now I don't mind if I go to a tournament and I'm by myself. I can sit in my own company and make myself busy, you know, like, it's not as like daunting to go from week to week by myself. I think it's the only thing you kind of don't realise when you travel is in every week you have to find a new place to buy food. Where are you going to like wash your clothes? What's the hotel actually like? You can turn up. Did you make sure you book everything? And kind of you're constantly booking hotels, booking flights, booking cars, finding a place to wash your clothes. Like, every week, it's just a lot at once.
So do you have to organise all of that yourself? Yeah. And where does the funding come from? Is that self-funded? Is that sponsorships?
A little bit of both. So sponsors obviously help, and then you have to kind of balance money yourself. I was fortunate my dad kind of supported me at the start, and then now I kind of made money to kind of pay for it. But then it's being smart with kind of travelling to, like, maybe rooming with someone to kind of minimise the cost of where you're staying, and then, you know, picking flights that maybe, obviously you want to have the best flights preparation wise, so I'll try and book as like short as flights as possible instead of doing loads of connections, because the worst thing you want is also your golf clubs like not turning up. But then maybe going at a different time could save you £300, which you've just got to weigh up the benefits and the kind of, is it going to gain you much? Are you going to lose a lot? But then you save money. So it's like... Yeah.
It's so interesting, because I know we were talking about it briefly before we started recording, but actually professional sport is still very expensive for athletes, particularly golf, and that as you're funneling in, whereas there's loads of you trying to go pro, and as that funnel gets narrower and narrower, it gets more and more expensive until you go pro, and then suddenly you start getting more sponsorships and more funding coming in. But that's an element of people don't even realize that even though you are pro and you're on the tour now, you're still having to fund a lot of this stuff yourself.
Yeah.
Are you seeing a shift with this, with more help in this area?
I think it is because golf is growing as a game to kind of be more like have a bigger media presence. Sponsors are helpful. And it's like, I suppose I kind of see it in like the High Rock side in comparison. They might have more sponsors because there's more in the fitness industry. But then again, like our prize money is a little bit like is better.
Yeah.
So I think kind of the balance there is easier. But then the problem with golf as well, you have 120 people playing, only 60 make the cut. That means half the field don't make any income that week. And then if you're making the cut, unless you're doing pretty well, you're not really making a profit. So it is difficult. Like you might have a stretch where you don't play well and you miss a couple cuts and you've just had expenses.
So the pressure now is different to being pro, because I can imagine the pressure before you went pro was putting all of your energy in it to get to that point of going pro. And now it's almost the pressure of make the cut, earn your money, make sure you can afford to continue playing. What are some of the other pressures that we don't necessarily see when it comes to pro golf?
Well, I suppose you have like the elements of traveling lots. So I think people forget how difficult traveling week after week can be. And I think it can kind of drain you quite easily when you're going 6 weeks on the road, not going home, living out of a suitcase, but then also like finding a new hotel to stay at every week, and nothing's continuous, like you can't get into a routine. And then like the tea times are random times, and then you're having dinner at 8 p.m. and then you need to have dinner at 5 p.m. And I think I realise it, especially when I come home and I can have 2 weeks of doing the same thing, how much like better I feel. And it's like a strange thing to say, but it's like, but even being at home for a week now, kind of doing the same thing, like I feel I have way more energy, like I feel less kind of puffy and bloated, and everything kind of is easier. And like your like emotion levels also a little bit more balanced because you're not like sleep deprived and whatever. And I think kind of then having to perform on top of that, it's obviously a lot more difficult.
Has there ever been a moment where you doubted that this path was for you?
Oh, so many times.
Yeah.
And I think like if someone hasn't felt that, then they're probably kidding to themselves, because I think so many times like my friend will be like, oh, do you want to go do this? I'm like, oh no, I'm not here. I'm not here then. Oh yeah, I'm going away again. No, I need to go practice. And I think like that's tough too. But then equally, when you're not doing well, you're not playing well, and you expect yourself to play really well and it doesn't go your way, it's like, well, that sucks.
What is it that makes it worth it for you?
It's a little, and I think every golfer kind of will understand this kind of experience. It's that one time it does go well. It just keeps you coming back for more. Like you can be grinding all day, it's horrible, and then you hit one shot and it's so rewarding that you're like, okay, yeah, I'm doing this again. Or like you've been playing really, really bad, and then suddenly that one round that's so good and you're like, oh yeah, I love it.
So I often find that we learn more from things that aren't always positive experiences. We tend to learn more about ourselves when we have a negative experience or a quote unquote failure. What have you learned about yourself from not necessarily failures in golf, but things that haven't gone your way? What has that taught you about yourself as a person? Other than that, you're not very patient.
Yeah, that's one. I think I've realised sometimes for me, I need to give myself a bit of time. And I think that kind of goes for everything in life. If I'm not happy with something, I'm better off kind of stepping out of the situation and kind of not like withdrawing myself, but kind of looking at it from an outside perspective, or not particularly like the emotional side. Because I would say like I'm a fairly emotional person. I'm not super like level-headed. Like I don't get angry or anything, but I think it's easy to kind of get upset. So I think kind of looking at it from like an outside view, like, okay, yeah, today sucks. or whatever, whether it's golf or life. Today was a shit day. Like, it didn't go my way. But then I can be upset about it and have that moment and then kind of look at it and go, right, well, there's nothing I can do about it now. Like, it's annoying now, but, you know, life goes on. Nobody else is going to remember it apart from me. And I think I love seeing those things on Instagram where it's like everyone's so worried about the way they look, the way they're acting, what they're eating, kind of, and they forget that everyone else is still worrying about themselves and not other people. And I think it's kind of goes the same thing. If you have a bad day, nobody else really cares. Like, they might feel sorry for you and go, oh, I'm sorry, you know, and then 2 minutes later they go on with their life. And I think it's important to kind of almost do the same with yourself. I think, like, it's really easy to dwell in things not going well all the time, but it doesn't make you happier and it doesn't fix things. Yeah. So kind of like taking yourself out and looking at it and going, yeah, today was hard, but, you know, I'm going to try and make tomorrow better. Or I might do something tomorrow that then has nothing that could go wrong, like go do a fun workout with a group of people and try and like forget about things.
Which we still need to do, by the way.
Yes.
We've got to get that in the diary. So we mentioned earlier the LET, which is the Ladies European Tour, and you've also spoken about the amount of travel that it requires and the changing schedules. But what does a week of the LET look like, or a season? How does that tend to look? How does your year map out? How does your week map out? So people have context of just how intense it is. What does that look like?
So we've just got our schedule released. So I'm going to go, we start the second week of February. But obviously, living in England, this is obviously only happens if you live in somewhere cold. I'm going to go to Florida to do like warm weather training. And then I'll come home for a couple of days and then go to Saudi Arabia. Then I'll come home for like 3 days. Then I go to Australia for 4 weeks. And we have around like between kind of Melbourne up to Sydney, up to Brisbane, 4 different events. And then I'll fly over back to America, go to Las Vegas. I have a tournament there. And then we have 1 week at home before going to South Africa for 2 weeks in Joburg and then Cape Town. And then we go straight to Mauritius. Then we have about 5 days at home again. And then we start the European stretch. So we go around the tournaments in Europe. And that's, I think there's about 4 tournaments, a week off, and then 4 more. So it's like quite back to back. And then obviously between the tournaments you have the day travel. So there's not really any time to go home or have a day off. You just travel to the next place. So I think I looked at it and it was like before June, I'm home for like 2 weeks.
That's in total.
Yeah.
2 weeks. So that's from February through till June. You fit all of that in. And you're majority of the time you're traveling alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, so a normal week, which is I think very different to like other sports, is we get there maybe Monday. You might go play 9 holes or have a look at the course on the Monday, like as a travel day. Then you'll have a practice round Tuesday, Wednesday, and then you have the first 2 rounds, Thursday, Friday, and then the weekend round, Saturday, Sunday. So it's 4 days, plus 2 practice rounds, plus a travel day, and then you're just constantly doing stuff. So I think that's what's a bit more challenging about golf, is because there's so many rounds over so many days, it's so continuous. So to kind of, yeah, it might not be the most physically demanding sport, but because you're doing it for so much longer over consistent back-to-back weeks, that's where it gets tiring.
But it's also mentally exhausting, I can imagine. The focus and the precision of the sport is insane. And when you're traveling alone and you don't necessarily have those people there to pick you up, what is it that helped you believe that you do belong at this level?
I think, I mean, it's hard to say it's like not results based, because obviously if you have a good week and you know you can compete with everyone, that's an obvious thing that you deserve to be there. But I think it's kind of, it is hard. Like some weeks I think I'm not good enough, because I think with everyone, like you look in the mirror and you don't feel good enough, or you don't, you know, everyone gets like little things like that. But I think kind of just ultimately like believing yourself that I'm good enough because I work hard enough. And I think changing it again to like the controllable aspects. And it's like, just because someone might walk around and kind of it looks like they have that self-belief in them and their shoulders back, kind of that might be their way of believing in themselves. For me, it's I believe in myself to put the work in. And because I know I like doing the hours of practice, I believe I can then achieve something from it. if that makes sense.
Yeah. So is that your way of managing comparison, would you say? When you're surrounded by elite players all of the time and we all compare, it's something that we all do. But is that your way of kind of keeping those feelings and thoughts of comparison, and they're doing that and they're playing like this, at bay?
Yeah, I think so. Like, I'm very much, I'm going to practice as hard as I can and the best I can, and that's all I can do. And the results will come or they won't. And I think kind of staying in that mindset kind of helps a lot as well, because, again, you might see someone doing something different to you and that might work for them and it might work for you, but it might not. So you don't, like, it's not always great to look at what other people are doing because it might not work for you.
Yeah, and it can take away your focus from what you are doing so well. When it comes to golf, there's a lot of attention on female golfers that isn't always just about the performance. It could be about what you're wearing and how people talk about you. How do you navigate those feelings and hearing those voices while still staying focused on your game and your performance?
I do think it is quite difficult in how big social media is now. And I think it is, sometimes I know for some girls, and for me included, it can be quite upsetting to almost like it's that kind of interpretation that girls are only playing golf for a certain reason, so forth. Because at the end of the day, you want it to be your profession, not for any other reason. Like, you aren't doing it to try to like show off the way you look or something. And obviously with every sport, there is an element of that. But it can be hard if someone does say a negative comment about you or isn't like the kindest about the way you look or whatever. And I think because of social media, you have these high expectations with what you want to look like, because you have girls who aren't professional but then look really good on playing golf, and it's like remembering, okay, I'm doing it for the results, not for anything really else.
Yeah. Do you feel like the clothing rules are quite restrictive and you're not able to showcase your personality? Because that is a big part of sport these days. It's not just the performance, but people tend to perform better when they feel confident in what they're wearing. Do you feel like sometimes, I don't know if this is the case or not with golf, but in other sports it can be, that with restrictions around clothing, it can impact how you perform?
I think golf has actually got a lot better recently. You still have some kind of golf clubs having these weird rules, like length of skirts, they need to go to your knees, and that's quite old, and most golf courses, I'd say, have kind of moved away from that. And like typically now it's just like the professional look of having a collar, or you have to have sleeves. And I think for the most part, I like the fact that there are kind of like traditional rules that aren't just because you're a girl or whatever. Like, I think it's nice to have kind of like, I always like wore a school uniform when I went to school, and I think it's nice that there's like a certain level of tradition and like smartness to it. So I think I like that element of it personally. I maybe some people would prefer to be a bit more out there, but I think kind of sometimes it's okay if everyone's following the same rules, then it makes it almost like quite a like traditional sport still.
It's also one less thing to think about.
That too.
I used to hate that when I went to college, we could suddenly wear whatever we wanted to school. And I was like, I hate this. My decision fatigue, and it's not even 8 a.m. and I've run out. My brain can't do this anymore. So we spoke earlier about how there are a lot less female golfers than men. Do you feel like there's, you know, that pressure on you to represent women in a sport where there aren't many of them? Does that take away from your performance, or is that something that feels like a privilege and just comes with part of playing the sport?
I think it is more of a privilege. I think now it's like, okay, I have the opportunity, like we are lucky, and like some tournaments they set up like girls golf clinics or even like junior golf clinics. And I think for me it is nice to kind of, like, it is like my favourite thing, like when a little girl comes up to you and they're like, oh, can I get your signature? And you're like, yeah, of course.
Yeah, so cute.
And I think it's like nice to see like young girls take interest in golf. So I think more of a kind of privilege to see like, okay, I am being like someone to look up to. Like, I think because I've always like looked, like you look up older girls that you kind of see over the years doing good. I remember I met Lexi Thompson when I was younger, and I thought, oh my God, she's so cool. So I think kind of like knowing that someone else could be looking up to me is like kind of, it feels really good. So
It is really cool. Being a role model, no matter what, is really cool, but particularly in sport. And there's so many eyes on women in sport at the moment that for some people it goes away, that it feels like an extra pressure that they weren't prepared for, and that can distract their focus and energy from their game. But for others, like you said, it's such a privilege that it's just something that comes with the territory of being really good at a sport, and you're helping encourage other girls and women get into it. If there was one thing you could change about women's golf or golf in general, what would it be?
Probably like showcasing it more and make it easier for people to watch. Because I think that's the thing, is a lot of people are like, oh, I had no idea that was on, or I had no idea you guys have, that your tournaments are actually on TV. Because it's just like obviously I'm fully aware media coverage is very expensive, and they are trying really hard to get it on more primetime TV. And obviously just men's dominates it right now. So if like the men's golf could help women's golf be showcased a little bit, that would be nice.
Yeah. Where can people watch you? So with all of your tournaments coming up, where can people watch you play?
So a lot of the time it's on TV on like kind of smaller channels. They sometimes do a YouTube live stream, but typically the easiest way to follow is just like on the LET app. They've got the results, and then whenever they do have a chance to put it on TV, they'll highlight where it's going to be.
I'm going to be watching.
Yeah.
How do you measure progress now when it's not just a case of wins or losses?
It's quite tricky in golf, I will say, because it's not like you run 5K, you have 20 minutes time or whatever, and then if you run slower or quicker, you know you've improved. Because with golf, it's not very linear. Linear, that's what I'm looking for, thank you. Like sometimes some things get better, some things get worse. But I think kind of, for me at the moment, I kind of go a lot of like, not feel-based, but I know whether I'm improving on now. Like I played enough time. If my swing feels good, I know I'm probably playing good. Then if the numbers kind of match up with that, like with my swing numbers, how far I'm hitting it, the strike is good, then I know I'm getting better. So kind of just stuff like that.
What does success look like for you over the next few years?
I think, feeling good about my game, and then ultimately winning a couple events.
If you had one piece of advice for your younger self, what would it be?
Oh, that's a good one. I think just to believe in myself a little bit more. I've never been someone who's like super, oh my God, yeah, I can do this. Like, I think that's one thing when I was younger. I think I've grown to kind of learn a bit more now to kind of take risks. But when I was younger, I didn't like asking anyone for help, and I was too like afraid to do something that was wrong. But I think now kind of knowing, you know, go do that thing that no one else is doing, because that's what makes you different. That's what makes you potentially better than someone else.
I love that. Do the things that no one else is doing.
Yeah.
Huge advocate. You have been brilliant. Thank you so much for joining me.
Of course, anytime. I loved it.